everybody. My name is Zuri, and we're here at the Z Spot, and I am joined by two of my really good friends. Jared. Say hey, Jared. It's yourself.
Jared James at Imagine on Instagram.
That's it.
And I'm a photographer, videographer, graphic designer, and the current king of R&B for my generation.
Wow. Not the current king of R&B though.
Jacquees, me and Jacquees two different generations. So my generation, yeah.
Oh.
Album coming out.
Okay. Well, good thing you brought the R&B thing up because we're going to talk about that. So, a little bit late. Yeah. So, then I have my, what should I call you? What should I, no, I can't say that because did he sing, who sang Homie Little Friend?
Yeah.
No!
Oh,
see, that's horrible. They like influence our culture like that.
Yeah.
So,
he said everybody
everybody.
He said anybody that wanted 90s was and after was made by him. So
that is just so sad. Okay, well I'm not gonna call you that. So introduce yourself, friend.
all right, hello world. I am Carlos Cameron, a great friend of Zuri for several years. Happy to be here. Instagram Carlos Cameron, CAMRYN. On IG, same thing on Facebook.
Yes, make sure you follow all of us. I am Z Authentically, Z _ just in case you people a little challenge with your spelling is AUTHENTICALLY, Z Authentically, because I'm just so authentic. Listen, I call it the Z Spot because everybody calls me Z. It's my spot, and it's a play on the word, the G spot, because we're going to be talking about sex and relationships.
You don't even have to give us the feeling. You already know what the fluffer is.
I'm just a funny neighbor.
Yep. And I just somebody.
Really?
I just know how her mind works.
I have insight. I'm just going to let you lead this conversation.
That is so funny right now. I'm mad how y'all trying to throw me under the bus like I'm like some kind of perv or something.
I'm not even on the bus. I'm with you when you go to those topics. Well,
all right.
We'll see that side.
Well, speaking of pervs, we're gonna segue into everybody's been watching, Surviving R. Kelly series. So we have to talk about that because I myself have some personal experience with a relationship of the sort. So I have a lot that I want to say about it. So, did you watch it?
Yes, I finally. I'm late to the butt party, but I remember on Facebook maybe 2 days ago I saw some of my friends, some of the girls that I know. They were going back and forth, and I was trying to read the comments to figure out, and I had no idea that they were actually talking about, the whole R. Kelly thing, but I really couldn't figure out. They were, kind of upset about, who's protecting the babies, and a lot of women were able to really relate to a lot that was going on. So of course, when you were telling me about it, I just got on Amazon and I just started ordering them. I paid a little $1.99 or $2 so I could catch them, but yeah, I had a chance to catch a couple of the episodes. I haven't finished it yet, but yeah, I saw some of it.
And you just said something that made me think about something that you said, because you said, he paid the $1.99 or whatever to watch it. That's not supporting R. Kelly. However, you did say that
16% increase in his music sales since the show aired, since the first night. 16% increase. He doesn't have any new content, as far as I know.
When you hear something like that, it's like, what the entire fuck is going on?
Complete fucking.
Why? Why? This is a show talking about a monster of a man, and you're gonna go out and buy his music. It makes his sales go up.
The only thing that would possibly explain how that happened. In the first couple episodes, they mentioned they talked about his origin, his rise to power musically, and how some of his lyrics were reflective of what he was really doing with Aaliyah. And so I, for one, didn't look at those songs that way back when they first came out. Like Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, him describing it. So now people that don't, because you have to go back and find the music. So I wouldn't go as far as purchasing to increase his album sales or anything, but that's the only explanation I come with for people going back to research that didn't have this stuff. It's like a whole generation later.
And to his point, not to butt in, but I think to his point, definitely, as I was watching it and listening to some of the song play, at that time I was, when he was, kind of hitting, I was, 7, 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, and I remember singing the songs, but not being mature enough to really understand what I was singing. I knew it was catchy.
Right.
I knew he was talking about, bump and grind, sex, all this stuff like that, but I didn't really have the know-how or have the full picture of exactly what the inner workings of the songs were and what the lyrics were saying, especially when they were talking about, how Aaliyah's song and how aging them, and how it was actually okay, and he had those hidden fillers. Yes, he had those hidden fillers to kind of save way for his lifestyle, and he kind of pushed. I see now that his music was there to brainwash the masses to be able to accept his lifestyle. That's what I started to take from it. So, to his point, I think a lot of people might have indirectly purchased the music just in a form of being able to, because I don't know if this music has been pulled or because of all the allegations. If a lot of the music is being taken, how with Prince had a different story going on with his music, but a lot of people, you couldn't even get Prince's music, you couldn't stream it, you couldn't do anything. So I guess a lot of people might have bought it because they don't know if they're going to be able to go back and hear it or if they're going to pull it off the airways. I don't think they will.
Well, they found a way to do it, and as stated in the documentary, Spotify, Apple Music, with certain streaming services started pulling his music.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So you can just find it online. So
well, that's good because he doesn't need to make any more money. Not,
comparing women to off-road vehicles, you marry my Jeep. It's not musical genius. It's just not.
So this is what I want to talk. I want to talk about social media. Of course, they have been like going in. Like social media has been like a buzz, like just lit about this whole surviving R. Kelly thing. But I have been seeing like some ignorant comments. Like, for instance, there's a guy on Facebook, and he was saying how he feels like this is a ploy to separate black women or turn black women against the black man. What? Like how? And then they bring up the fact they make it a race thing, and they say, well, until we get a documentary on the Catholic priest, which they have done that. I've seen plenty of Lifetime specials about the priests molesting little boys, or Charlie Sheen, or these other white people who have done some of the same things. Like, I just don't understand how you can say, well, does it make it okay because
someone else hasn't been caught for been prosecuted? Who's to say they haven't? We don't
wrong
have
is wrong.
Yeah.
Period. To me, that's my opinion.
If they sleep on the whole Me Too movement, that's what they've been doing this whole time. They've just been doing parades and walking down the street. They've been actively seeking out these people. So R. Kelly was just the biggest fish at this point.
Yeah, really. And to speak on some of the ignorance that people put out there, I realize some people are just looking for attention. Some people just want to take stances in certain positions, either to. Some people like to antagonize people, or when they see something that everybody dislikes. I know people that get off on aggravating or antagonizing, others, especially when they see people speak from a place of pain or frustration. Some people like to really egg that on. So when I see people, that are doing those particular types of things, or saying certain things, especially when you have facts, it is just so prevalent that there were so many misdealings or wrongdoings, and you got all these things documented. You have witness after witness after witness after witness, statement after statement, story after story that all lines up, and for people to turn around and continue to find ways to try to try to make sense of it, or to try to take a position, normalize it. To me, at that point, I stopped listening to those type of individuals, because if you're willing to ignore facts, then we can't have a real conversation when you can move the mark and just create whatever dynamic you want to, and it's not factual. So I hate when people allow those type of people to really aggravate them or frustrate them when they can't even stick to the facts. And I don't have conversation with people
that can't have
factual.
You can teach me better to do that.
I'm
like, are you serious?
I was
like,
straight,
really, are you serious?
unfollowing people and trying to have this thing where I have to, when I see wrong, I have to point it out. And it was really hard to not do that this time because I know they're antagonizing. I know they're digging in and just trying to, poke the bear.
Well, some people sometimes I really think that people do think that way. I don't think that they're just trying to antagonize or like Wendy Williams per se. Like to
kind of controversy based.
Yeah, let's create this controversy to give them something to talk about. I really do think there are some people like these diehard R. Kelly fans that see all of this proof and this evidence, yet they still want to support him. And then that's moving me to my next thing that I want to talk about as far as like how people victim shame. You're seeing like all of these. You see all of these women, and the reason why I know is because I've been in a situation like that, so I know the stories they're telling are true because I don't know these women. Yet the things that they're describing, I've been in that exact place. So I know that these women are telling the truth, and for people to, like say these women are lying or you should have known better or stuff like that. I feel like people always say they wouldn't do something, but you can't unless you're actually in that situation.
Yeah. And I think for me, when I kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Zuri, when you start hearing, and that's what I look at when we talk about these people that are just like we talk about that are just saying stuff, or even those people that you say that are really diehard R. Kelly supporters and things of that sort. To those people, I would ask them, well, if it was your daughter or your child, would you still feel the same way? Would you still be like, I sat there and I was watching Sparkle upset and really beating herself up because she's the one that so it wasn't even her child, but it was one of, her close family members, somebody that she was supposed to protect. She put them in that circle. She put them in that gauntlet and she was furious. So my thing is for those, supporters, it's easy when you're on the outside looking in, or when you can't relate to it. And that's why a lot of times when I talk to people, I always try to give them a scenario to where they can physically take something that's important or that's extremely tangible, something that they can grab and they can relate to immediately, and then give them the same flip story where now it's something that they care about, where now it's something that they will protect with their life. Right. And then I would throw it to them. If they still have the same mindset,
no empathy.
If they still have the same mindset, then I understand what type of individual I'm dealing with. Like I said, we're not going to be based on, facts, the evidence that's prevalent. And then you have so many women. And when I'm looking at the testimonies, I'm looking at the stories, I'm looking at body language, I'm looking at, facial expressions, I'm looking at, stories, and I'm comparing one story to the other. And then a lot of these women, either, as I'm finding out, started to either know about each other or were in the same sphere of each other, and then they're all giving different accounts. And the thing that did it in for me, or the thing that really made it extremely clear, is how, just in the first couple of episodes that I watched, is how the worst thing he did that really ties their stories in is the isolation of them all. How he isolated all of them from everybody else so they would not know. Right. And the fact that he was isolating them, and then they will finally kind of come out. And the fact that if they talked, it was one thing, and they had the same story, but they were all isolated.
Right.
And it's hard to create the same circumstance or the same story. It's kind of like, I kind of use this preface when they talk about pyramids in the world. How do you have the same pyramid structures that are in China, found in Egypt and in other countries, and it's the exact same structure? Especially if they weren't talking. So it's impossible for them to have the same story if they weren't having the same experience, or the same person wasn't building the pyramid, or the same person wasn't creating those circumstances. So that's how I know that there is truth.
There's truth,
because they were isolated, they didn't talk.
Yeah, because they all had the same story. They all said the same thing about him. Like his mannerisms, like the daddy thing, he told me if I did this, I couldn't do that. Like it was identical.
6 episodes of just such and such met R. Kelly when she was 17. Such and such met R. Kelly when she was 18, or just teens. All the stories, 14, with the exception of like 2 people, all started when they were teens. Like alone, just how he was targeting people and the repeated patterns of the same story from people that never met each other. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Well, now the one thing that I do agree with about when they bring race into it, I do feel like if he was victimizing young white women, that he would definitely be in jail. Like
it's sad and it's unfortunate, but this expedience of the judicial system when it's a young white girl, a lot faster when it's a young black girl, and that's sad. But didn't
they push the what was it, like 5 or 7 years? They pushed it off, so these were girls, and then by the time the girls they were like grown women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So completely skewed, how the jury saw. And then you saw the guy that they had. I think he was probably a Jewish guy. And he was saying, just the way that they looked, I just didn't trust them.
I said I only got through the first 2 episodes. I know you guys you got a little further, but to your point, I have seen situations like that. Being an athlete that played, college ball, at SEC school at Ole Miss, and being able to do the pro stuff and be around athletes. I saw it happen to a couple of my teammates when I was in college, where they messed around with a young white girl, and she decides to holler rape, because daddy found out, about it, and they're fighting for their lives. They're trying to do jail time, and they were all grown. They were all over 18, 19. It was consensual. Of course, she ended up dropping the charges, and nothing ended up coming out of it. But their names were tarnished.
Right.
Yeah.
All these things happen. So I've seen the plight of what happens when you replace that face with a white face, versus a black face, and we've heard so many stories about young men with their whole future in front of them. One of the guys, he had a full scholarship to go somewhere. He ended up having to go to jail, and it was only a 1 or 2 year difference between him and the girl. He was like 18, she was like 16, or he was 17, she was 15 or something like that, and they sent him to jail.
Once your record is tarnished, it's a ripple effect from that point on.
And you're a pedophile too at that point.
Yeah.
A pedophile, and going to jail, and you were 18, she was 16.
Yeah.
And now you have pedophile on your name, registered sex offender.
Yeah.
When this happened, you were 18. It's hard to come back from that. So.
Yeah.
So then, what happens when the justice system fails? Then what? Because he's obviously got off. They put this out about him, and what happens now?
That's where we are now. It's like, I don't wish ill will on anybody physically, but just the fact that no one's trying to get at him, not even like street justice haven't even kicked in. Like nobody.
That's what I'm like,
no goons, nowhere. It's like, it's insane to me that so many people are aware, even back when it was a gray area. So did he do it? Didn't he do it? Fast forward to now, you got so many people that are aware, that have worked with him, that have done songs with him, that have people have been in his circles, and no one.
That's
the negligence for years for people that had the power to do something or say something.
Yeah.
It's crazy because and when we talk about how he got off on his court case and things of that sort, one thing you realize is that in this world, money rules everything. And of course we won't go too deep, but when you start thinking about, when you're in court and you're being charged with certain things and stuff like that, people have gotten off on killing people by paying the charge.
Right,
and you understand the definition of what words really mean. Mm-hmm. You're being charged if I pay that. So R. Kelly has the money to make certain things work, but
right now,
run
out.
They're gonna come at them. Of course, I won't say it'll run out, but he's gonna have to pay a lot of things. But one thing that you guys were talking about when it comes to the goons and stuff like that, I recently just finished reading James Prince's book, The Art and Science of Respect. And one thing that he brought up in that book was he was saying, street rules, and he was saying, in all walks of life, he says everybody can know you're a jack boy, or that you boost cars and you steal from cars, you steal people's cars. It says now nobody in the hood cares until you take the wrong person's car. It's fine. You can take, if you take the wrong person's car, say he didn't cross the wrong person's child. Had he ever touched the wrong person's child?
And every child is the wrong person's child.
It is.
Right.
It is. But as far as
when he get that one person.
Yeah.
Or that's on the same level as him. Or and one thing when I picked up from James Prince, which is now we understand why he's, why he is who he is, one of his biggest things is, I give respect, so I'm going to demand you give it back to me. And his thing is that if you put my family in any type of compromised position, then I have every right to do it to you. But see, when you run up against somebody that has the same amount of power, the same amount of cachet, or that can make those same amount of moves, or move the money like that, then I'm pretty sure in the industry he's come along or come across those type of individuals or rubbed elbows with them. But I think he weighed the risk of who he can go after, so he strategically, that's when he went to the high schools, regular high school, stuff like that. He started there. He would have his boys go do his work, single out. He handpicked a lot of his targets, and he knew he had been doing it for so long. I think he knew what it looked like.
And worse off, that speaks to now a lack of community. No one's like, well, don't you touch mine. We're all in the same space, so that's a huge lack of community. That's like, well, I don't care as long as you come out. I'm not wired that way. Like,
that's the sad part. That's why they were saying, with the black women, it's like, people don't care about black women. Like,
it's the black man's job.
Duty
to build and protect, serve and protect. Keyword protect. That's the one thing we should always do. And everybody that's speaking against, well, they knew what they were getting into. They may not have been taught that. There's something to be said about the lack of teaching when these men come up. So when they see these situations come about, they're not processing the ignorance of this people.
So everybody, we talked about like everybody doing the victim shaming, but a lot of times people blame not only the victims, but especially in this situation, the parents of the victims. So, what are your thoughts on the parents of the victims of R. Kelly?
Parents used to be kids. Not all kids got taught everything before they became parents. And so when they get in those situations, there's a couple that I sympathize with everything they went through. There's one set of parents in like episode 5 or 6, how they introduced their daughter to him with the intent of, let's get her career going. It's like the gray area of, I don't know, I'm not sure he did it or not, was back when Aaliyah and him got married or the sex tape came out. When you get to the point when it's like 2017, 18,
wait, did that whole thing, the sex tape, that was out, and when...
Yeah, that was out. That was like in,
oh, hell.
That was out like in the late 90s. So when they met him, it was 2015, 16, according to the documentary. By that point, everybody at least has a sense of it. Even if you don't have actual physical proof, you have enough sense to know my kid ain't coming within 20 yards of the building you performing at, much less meeting you.
Right.
So...
And especially, I'm not right there.
Yeah,
and
the
entire time.
Yeah, and they were with her the entire time. But even still, don't even entertain being... There's a million producers that can make beats or anything. It's R. Kelly, doesn't even have the weight anymore.
But then, like you said, this happened. Like I said, I haven't got that far. But just based on what you were saying is that if all the information was out, because I think that sex tape, I don't know if I was in high school, but I remember Dave Chappelle was doing the skit.
Yeah.
The whole POU skit on the Chappelle show. So I remember that had to be, between 03, between that time, 2000 and 2003. So I remember that tape came out. And like you said, this happened in 2015, 10 years later, 12 years later. Yeah. And they're still bringing their child to R. Kelly to have him, come and do work with them, especially everything you have going on now with social media. With all these outlets where you can pretty much, if you want to be heard, you can just get in front of a camera or your IGTV and all this other stuff, and you can promote yourself.
Yeah.
And then everybody's going independent. Look at Drake.
Yeah.
You have independent artists that aren't even signed up with labels. Either they were specifically looking for a particular thing or they wanted an easier way, but there's ways.
Yeah.
There's ways to do this. Or maybe some people even put their kids in situations where they can try to collect, money, knowing that this person's going to do certain things.
That's so sad. But
remember, it happened with was it I think Eddie Griffin or somebody were talking about Michael Jackson, and they were talking about how when he was on trial, it was I want to say it was a white guy, and his son was there, and they said they were trying to pay him like $50,000 or $60,000, almost $100,000 to just say that Michael touched his son. And he was like, I can't lie on that man. You know, and the people were trying to do that. So
Yeah.
I've seen it to where people will put their kids in situations.
Gamble with your kids.
To try to come up and get some money off of it. So, and that's where it gets finicky. But in R. Kelly's case, it's insurmountable evidence, man. I mean, it's just too much, you know, stuff out there. But for these parents to have all that information and all that knowledge, either you really just either you're doing that bad and that doesn't justify it. I'd rather you go out here and boost cars or rob banks than to put your child, an innocent child, out there, you know, and exploit them. But environment depends on where you come from. I mean, some women will, if they're on drugs, they'll you know, pimp out their daughter for a crack rock.
Right. I mean, you never know, like, you know, some of the most evil monsters portray themselves to be the nicest people. So you never really know. But to have that type of evidence and for this to be out there, even if there's an inkling or a speculation about somebody, I don't even want my child to be, I don't even want to be around that person. Like, cause I'm like, you know, I just, so I don't know. I mean, you want to think that you want to hope that they were like naive. You don't want to think that, you know, a parent would do that to their child for the come up.
Yeah, you can't. On the one hand, I can't expect everybody to have the same knowledge growing up or the same just guidance growing up, but I just can't wrap my mind around how did you not investigate at the very least. You know what I mean? Like, how is that not happening?
Yeah.
Well, on to lighter subjects. Let's get off of
Let's unpack
that. Yes, let's clear. Did you bring some sage? Because I feel like I need to like.
energy.
Yes, we need to like smudge this thing.